I am so excited to have not only a friend, but a special guest, and it's Cate Greene. For those of you who don't know Cate Greene, you're going to be excited to meet her. Cate is the president currently of the auxiliary of Lawrence Memorial Yale New Haven Hospital. The auxiliary itself is 110 years old, began in 1914 to support the needs of the hospital that was only 2 years old at that time. It began as a doctor's wife's opportunity, supporting the hospital and the needs of the community. It was quiet women doing amazing work that raised over $3.5 million in its history. So Cate, thank you so much for being my guest today. So glad to see you again. It's been a while, so welcome.
I know, Kate. Isn't this nice to get back together again after all this time we've known each other? And you put that that description of the auxiliary together so well in the hospital and all the work they're doing. Thank you for having me on here too.
Absolutely, and you have events coming up. We want to talk about the work, the nitty-gritty, the big picture, the small picture, the details in between, and how people can support, because I think people are interested and want to know the good works that you're doing. So first of all, tell me, what are some of the basic things that you're up to these days with the hospital auxiliary?
Well, with the auxiliary, we support different departments depending on what they might need. We try to do different things to be morale boosters for some of the departments. Over the past couple of years, we've brought wonderful cookies and these big stars that say superstars in our lives. And,
sure.
And just to say thank you, if there's something at different departments like the Pond House or Nurturing Families that work with social workers and families in the community, we're there to support them if they have certain things that they need for the families. And again, that can vary.
So I don't know about the Pond House. Let's start there. What is that? What do they do? It sounds like it's like...
Well, the Pond House, we found out, that's another thing, is that every single board meeting we've had over the past couple of years, we always have a guest from the hospital to tell us about their department, so we learn more about what their needs are and what they do. The Pond House is a place that people with mental illness go to on their own, or people bring them to the Pond House. And again, they have all different programs for people. They might stay there. They might have an out program where they come back for different meetings every week. Dr. Ashley Complin is the person that we've spoken to about the needs. And maybe it is just to write cards to people in the Pond House to say, you know what, there's lots of people that support you. Whatever you need, we're here. And,
Well, just to have that message of support, and sometimes it might seem like a small thing, but if you get a personal note in the mail, or if somebody brings you cookies or puts a star by your name, those are life-changing sometimes, things that you might do to affirm the work that people do.
Right. And last year they started a garden. So one of the things on our checklist this year is to contact them and see, do you need things for the garden? Do you need tools? Do you need seeds? Do you need plants? Do you need some people to come in and help with the plantings? So there's all different things, and those are just little things that we find out, again, from having a guest that tells us more about the details of their department, what the work they do. Then we know, all right, what is it that we can help you with? The auxiliary, again, I'm always amazed that any business or any nonprofit's been around for over 100 years.
Absolutely.
So it tells me that, first of all, they have a fierce commitment to their mission.
What is the mission?
It's to support the hospital in all of its efforts to improve the health of the community.
Perfect. Lovely.
So again, I was born there, like many people in our region have been born at L&M, and New London was the hot spot for many years growing up.
Absolutely.
And so this is the cornerstone of our community, this hospital.
Absolutely.
So the people that are dedicated to it, the members, it's really important to them that this be continually supported and that we're always there for them. So again, it changes. After the pandemic, things changed.
And the pandemic was so tough and so hard, especially for hospitals.
Right. And, it broke our hearts because we were locked in our homes for so long, watching on TV these nurses, women and men, that risk their lives for us to make sure.
Totally.
Yeah. And their families. And so, again, that gets back to us to making sure that we're there to support them if there's something they need, no matter what.
And they need that support, right? I'm sure you have some real poignant stories that would describe some of the differences that you could make in the trajectory of their work and their mission and how you were able to do that?
Well, over the years, the hospital, again, if a department needed a certain piece of equipment that they hadn't budgeted for, or a program, the auxiliary would support the money for that. The auxiliary, what they've done over the past 110 years, what you mentioned, was raised over $3.5 million, because that's what they've been doing, is every kind of tea or party or gala or anything, because they knew how much money is needed to buy this equipment, which is not inexpensive, or to make sure that they can support the new emergency department. We made a bequest in 2022 for $100,000 to that, and so we've been, every year for 5 years, we're giving them $20,000 toward that bequest to meet that. So we raise money constantly because those things are important to be part of that. And our members think so too. They leave bequests for these pieces to make sure that certain things are done for the hospital.
How big is your auxiliary?
There's about 200 members.
Oh, nice.
Some are lifetime, been there a very long time with us. Some are annual that have just joined. And they, again, things changed after the pandemic. They were used to so many different social pieces that were done prior to the pandemic. And afterwards, we had to look at the world differently.
Of course.
And so the big galas were put on the back burner for a while. And we had to look at what else can we do? What kind of service can we be to the hospital if we can't do that?
Exactly.
So we had to find things like, again, how do you lift the morale of the different departments? How do you, what are the needs? What are the people needing? We found out that there is a wonderful alumni association in the hospital that
so people who were previously employees, or
they were all members of the Joseph Lawrence School of Nursing.
Oh, interesting.
Which started, I believe in 1913, went through the 70s, and they are. They have a wonderful small museum there of all the pictures of every class all those years, and we're partnering with them to start to help upgrade the museum, help them with those pieces, because many of them are, as they say, aging out, and they want to make sure that continues. But it's a wonderful history of the hospital that we as the auxiliary can figure out how to help get that and keep it preserved and keep the items in it preserved. And those are just little things that we constantly look at that come to our attention.
Well, little but big. I mean, I've learned so much already. I didn't know about the Pound House. I didn't know about the garden that we've just talked about, and I didn't know about there being a nursing school there, and I didn't know it was called Joseph Lawrence School of Nursing. So I've learned 3 things already by just...
Well, yeah, and that was very important in our region that we found out about, and especially during the war, during World War II especially, was very important. I found out too. I've learned so much history.
Of course you would. And where is the Pond House? Where is the garden? Where is the museum going to be?
Well, it is already in the hospital. There's a
by the gift shop kind of thing?
No, it's downstairs.
Okay.
And it's not accessible to the public.
No, it's not open. Okay.
But it's for employees or people that could go in there and to know about it. But again, it needs to be upgraded and preserved.
Sure.
But it is in the hospital downstairs. The Pond House is right on the property on Ocean Avenue side of the hospital.
And where's the garden going to be?
There's a space in the back area where there's some grass that they've been using for that. As far as I know, I haven't seen the whole thing, so I can't tell you. But again, these are all little things that, again, if we have a guest every month, we find out about this and we learn what's going on and how they do things. So we have a new president of the hospital.
Okay.
His name is Richard Licitano. Nice person, and again, met with him a few times, and he's doing a really nice job of looking at the hospital. What can we do better? How can we do this? So it's really nice to have that communication between the hospital and the auxiliary, that they know how important we are to them too.
Well, absolutely, and I think we think as a consumer, as a patient of the hospital, I've had a couple of procedures. I had, I don't know, something with my knee or leg or something like that at one time when I had an accident. So, been in and out on a couple of occasions. And we think that insurance covers everything. And, insurance is so high and the bills are so high that you think everything's covered. But that's really not the truth or not the fact at all.
No. And again, the auxiliary, we can write grants as a nonprofit to cover some things if we needed that. So we're very fortunate. In fact, we just received one this morning. I was at a photo op at the hospital with Eversource. Teresa Jackman is their community relations person, and we received a grant for our upcoming Honoring Nurses, Celebrating Nurses program luncheon that we're doing. And
well, congratulations. There's grants out there, but it's always, they say the devil is in the details of writing the grant and getting the information presented to whoever the grant donor is and getting it all right. So congratulations.
Well,
and that's a lot of work there too.
Well, thank you. And again, I think it's because the subject matter is really important and touches people's hearts, is celebrating nurses.
Okay.
Well,
and we don't celebrate them enough. And there's burnout with nursing, right? I mean, it's not an easy profession.
Well, no, they're always there. You think about that from the time you're born to the time we pass away. There's a nurse in our lives, whether it's at school or camp or someplace. There's always someone there to take care of you,
guard you,
or just give you a kind word. Sometimes you're going to be okay. And so after the pandemic, one of the things, again, we were looking at different things that we could do. So in 2023, we decided to start an annual luncheon to celebrate nurses.
And you have something coming up, Celebrate Nurses 2024.
Right.
Saturday, April 20th, and we can buy tickets to this, or
you can go on Eventbrite.
Eventbrite, okay. And what do we type in?
Auxiliary L&M Celebrate Nurses.
Okay.
And
are there going to be speakers? What's the venue going to look like? Well,
the speaker, last year we had our U.S. Treasurer and Mohegan Chief Lynn Malerba spoke for us.
Nice.
And then this year we have Shannon Christian. She is the VP of nursing at the hospital right now, grew up in New London, has got a great story, and she's going to be talking about the past, present, and future of nursing.
Oh, that's interesting, because it's going to change. There's going to be probably more and more telehealth, and what can you give us, like a little capsule of what we could expect for her to talk about?
Well, I think you should know that last year when we started this, I connected with the head of nursing at Three Rivers, it was called Three Rivers, Cindy Arpin, and we sponsored 20 male and female nursing students from Three Rivers. And because, again, I was surprised at how many people are still going to go into nursing after the pandemic. So this year, again, we have 20 nurses from Three Rivers that we're sponsoring, and plus we have 10 PCAs or CNAs that are going to be coming, that are furthering their education to become a nurse.
Nice.
And they're all being sponsored.
Nice.
And so those are the future. Then we have our alumni from the Joseph Lawrence School of Nursing that's going to be there, and they're being sponsored as our past. And then our present is Shannon and many of the nurses that will be in the audience that are still nursing. And again, I think it's so important for people to see those three pieces together, and to also, as with the wisdom and knowledge we have at a certain point of our lives, we need to be the cheerleaders for these future nurses.
Absolutely.
I know this is old school, but we started last year. Each of the student nurses gets a white carnation corsage. And I point out that when you see them in the room or in the line for the buffet, you need to be the cheerleaders.
Yes.
You need to tell them
yes.
how important they are, and thank you so much for doing this,
yes.
because this is not easy stepping into this in the beginning, as they all know. But I think
it's life-changing too. It's the kind of work that it's not just about the paycheck or the money that you get. It's bigger than that.
Yeah, and I have to tell you, Cindy Arpin, who's the director of nursing up at Three Rivers, these students are absolutely remarkable. I praise them highly to her afterwards, because she does such a good job of training them and getting them ready. Absolutely wonderful young people that are going to be part of the ones we're going to see in different nursing places. Wherever we're going, they will be there. And so that's why this is so important. This will be an annual event.
Okay.
And that's why I'm so pleased that Eversource wants to support it and that other people are sponsoring to support it. Because, again, I know May is Health Healers Month, but every day you need to be thanking somebody in the nursing field for what they're doing and how they're helping us.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And is there a shortage of nurses? Are we looking at?
Well, I think there's still a lot of positions open because, again, people are retiring. And I think that, again, that's something that people need to look at. The field is wide open in so many different places.
Well, it's lovely work. It's wonderful work. You can work in a clinic. You can work in a school. You can work in a hospital.
Right.
There's just like, you can do home health care. You can go into people's homes. The opportunities are endless for the kind of, I just was with a friend this last weekend, and she was an operating room nurse. So it can be high, intense kind of work, or kind of more quiet with somebody towards the end of their life, hospice work,
And it's everyone. I was, a few weeks ago, we was at the Velvet Mill. They had a women's expo there, and we had a table for this. And anybody you talk to, and they said, what is this? They would tell you stories that, oh, my mother was a nurse. Oh my gosh, she worked so hard. My grandmother was a nurse. Oh, my sister's a nurse. Everybody's somehow connected to someone that has been in the healthcare field that's helping somebody else. And so, again, that's part of what the auxiliary does, is to highlight this and bring this out in the open for everybody. The Norwich Inn has been wonderful for us.
It's a lovely venue, too. Of course, we've all been there, right?
Yeah.
So
the staff, everybody has been really nice. Again, we'll have some vendors, we'll have basket raffles, but again, it's just to come and say thank you.
Okay. Well, I will mark my calendar and get my tickets and be on board. And I suppose dress would be what what we're wearing today.
Yeah,
kind
I
of
think
thing,
so.
or?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's again, it's a lot of networking too, and meeting people, seeing people too while we're there. So
absolutely, it's all about that. At the end of the day, some people say your net worth is your network.
Oh no, you're right.
Yeah.
You're right, Kate. Absolutely. So.
Well, and we are getting more and more men into the nursing field, but it still is kind of am I being sexist or gender specific by saying it's more typically a female who chooses this profession, or?
I think so, but again, last year the student nurses that came, there were men and women there. I think originally it was just women for many years. At the Joseph Lawrence School of Nursing, I think it was all females.
Back in the day,
all
right?
females.
Back in 1917 or whenever
or
you
going
said
up
it
to the
first
70s,
started. Yeah. 1913 you said, right? Yeah, so, So, no, and I think that's really important that we get more men. I mean, especially like orthopedic patients, if you're lifting people after they've had some big kind of, hip replacement or something like that, you need some strength into those positions as well. Yeah.
Well, and again, there's so many different fields in nursing that you can go into, and so it makes a difference having, and again, seeing people, diverse background, genders, everything. I think it's so important in all fields that we're in. But anyway, I do need, if you have time, tell you a quick story about one of the nurses.
Yes, please.
Her name is Jane Doyle, and I know she'll get a kick that I'm mentioning her. But she came last year because I found out about the fact that there were cadet nurses, the Cadet Corps. During World War II, most of the nurses were going overseas on the battlefield, and some small hospitals were having to close because they didn't have enough nurses. So FDR decided to start this program called the Cadet Corps, which shortened the nursing program a little bit, but also provided free education for these classes.
Nice.
120,000 women took this. They came from all over.
And this was in like Washington, D.C. area?
No, it was the whole country.
Okay.
And it changed the trajectory of their lives. First of all, now they had a career. They had that they could go and make earn something. But secondly, President Truman said this after the war, that these ladies literally saved the healthcare
industry,
in our country, because we wouldn't have had enough nurses to keep the hospitals open if they hadn't done this. So 120,000 nurses. So thought it was perfect that.
That's huge.
And Jane is in her 90s, and she's still hanging in with us, and she's such a hot ticket.
What is her, Jane Doyle?
Yes, she's wonderful.
Can't wait to meet her.
And anyway, there's different books out there called the Cadet Corps. It tells you the story of these nurses. And the nice part is, I think that, again, after the pandemic, that nurses literally saved the healthcare industry in our country.
Absolutely, I can see that.
And I think it's a daily thing that people need to recognize. So, again, those are the things that the auxiliary, I think for every era that they've been around for over, the 110 years, that they've had to adapt to what's going on because they've been through wars, depressions, pandemics, so many things over this century that, like, we have had to adapt after the pandemic to figure out, well, how do we continue to help the hospital? How do we continue to support it? And this is one of the ways that a morale booster for the nursing staff.
Well, that's lovely. Well, my Aunt Alice was a nurse, and she used to always say, I'd be back in Humphrey, which was a farm community in Nebraska. I'd still be back in Humphrey, Nebraska, pushing raisins into cookies if I hadn't gotten into nursing. So,
absolutely.
And she became head nurse of a medical surgical for St. Joseph's Hospital again in Omaha, Nebraska. So
it changed everything for women during that time. They never would have been able to go to school because they didn't have the money for it. So it was huge, and I just learned about it last year. It's a big deal.
The Cadet Corps, huh?
Yeah.
Wow, that's really an interesting story. So thank you for sharing that. So, and what else? What other projects do you have going on? You just have to wait until the next one comes along. I know that this is for front and foremost in your mind and thinking about the luncheon, but there's probably some things on the back burner coming down the road as well, too.
Well, we have, usually in the last couple of years, we've met and had all women's groups come together with the auxiliary at the end of June, and we've been fortunate to have Andrea Sullivan has allowed us the last couple of years, and we thank her greatly. Hopefully again this year, I'm not sure, but she's a member of the auxiliary.
Okay.
And she's opened up her home so that we could have all these people come, and we bring all the women's groups together in the region, not only to network, but just to let each other know what we're doing, what we're working on, because again, I think that collaboration is so important.
Well, and we've had this conversation before, but not on the air. So the idea, I think, is just really, there's a lot of nonprofits in the area. I don't know exactly what the number is. You probably do.
Thousands
of nonprofits, and we're all competing for the same dollar, sometimes with the same outcomes or missions. And so if we can work together to accomplish that end, then the better for everybody, right?
I know. We have an annual meeting every November. It's in our bylaws that members come together and we let them know how the year went, what we've done. Also for new officers that are coming in, or new people on the board of directors, and so I think we're doing that this year again. I think we're doing it at Ocean Beach this year. We haven't, but it's again, bring everybody together. It's a harder communication piece since the pandemic, trying to get everybody in one place.
Absolutely, it's tough. So if we wanted to support you, could we volunteer? Like, could we go and work at the garden? Do you need people to do that kind of like tilling of the soil and planting of the seeds and that sort of work?
Well, I have an email out to find out what do they need this year and who they need to come in. There's some wonderful gardening clubs around too that I know volunteer too that we can reach out to also. So it's just finding out exactly what they need, and we start now asking because again we're getting into spring soon.
Spring is springing. Yeah, I saw some flowers popping up, some daffodils already, and some buds on the trees. So yeah, it's coming, whether we're ready for it or not. And then, can people donate to the auxiliary? Is that something? Is there a way? No, not really.
Well, yes, absolutely. You could donate to the auxiliary. Again. We could take donations through our P.O. Box, which is here in Waterford right now. And
what is that? P.O. Box?
204.
P.O. Box 204 if you want to donate.
Right here in Waterford.
Waterford, Connecticut. Okay.
06385.
06385. Got that. Okay.
And then again, you can also send if you don't want to go on Eventbrite, some people don't want to, you can send a check for the event.
Okay.
Which it is $100 for the event, and it also, because it's partly fundraising, all the money goes back to the hospital.
Absolutely. I get it.
So they can send a check to that and put in the memo section, Celebrate Nurses.
Celebrate
And we'll get
Nurses.
you your ticket.
Okay, okay. All right. Well, Kathy, we just have a few minutes left. Is there another story you want to tell or anything else that you want people to be aware of or to know that we're trying to accomplish here in the area? And New London is a mixed community. It's priority urban school district, the schools are, so that would mean the area itself is one that's probably is more in need of services and supports that we can help make a difference in.
Well, I think, again, the hospital works quietly with a lot of different organizations in the area. And I know that the new president is a community person, and
it's all about community, right? It's all
Right.
about building community,
Right,
supporting
right.
community.
Absolutely. And again, we have so many people coming with different languages now. I know in the day they've been showing how it's expanded for the teachers teaching English as a second language to so many people, New London and Norwich. And so it's, again, it's always to keep up with all the needs of the community and what it's looking like.
Absolutely.
The new emergency department at the hospital is still being renovated and working on it. Wonderful programs there. And that will be, I think, I'm not sure exactly when that'll be finished, but it'd be a wonderful addition.
Absolutely.
To have that expansion. So
it is. It's a cornerstone, and I always like driving by it because it's just a beautiful brick building, and I'm so glad that we have that in our community.
Well, I know when you ask the members, why are you a member? Some of the ones that have been members a long time will tell you, well, that's my hospital.
Yeah.
I was born there. My grandchildren have been born there. It's just something that's been a part of our life forever.
Forever.
Yeah.
Oh.
You don't know any different. So it's an important piece. And
Absolutely.
I'm so glad to tell you how much I really like this organization and appreciate it. Again, so many nonprofits that do such good work. And these members of this have been doing this quietly for so long, not giving themselves enough praise for all the things they're contributing. And
we
so
could be the cheerleaders.
I'm right there doing it, Kate.
I'll get out my pom-poms.
Well, maybe that's a good idea for what we're doing up there on the 20th of April. And we
Okay,
need
I'll bring my
pom-pom.
pom-poms when I come then. Okay. Kathy, thank you so much. So good to see you again. Thank you
Yeah,
for being
thanks,
a guest.
Kate.
And thank you for all the hard work that you do in our community. I know that you've got your thumb in a few different pots.
Well, you know what? I think that it's so important. We have so much wisdom and knowledge to share, and I think that so many good people out there working all the time.
And it's good to have hope.
Celebrate them, yes. It does give you hope, honestly.
It does give you hope. I know. If you're feeling down, like, hey, get involved. This is where you get your hope.
No, you see these people working hard all the time. So, yeah, and Kate, thanks so much for reaching out and reminding me that you're here and we can do this. So.
Absolutely. You're always welcome. Thank
All
you.
right.